If you are over 60 and thinking about remarrying, I want you to sit with me for a moment. Picture us in a quiet room. No distractions, just you and me. I have something important to share, something that comes not only from years of experience as a doctor who has counseled people in every season of life, but also from seeing what love, loss, and new beginnings do to the human heart. You may be carrying hope, maybe even fear, or perhaps a touch of guilt. Maybe you lost a spouse to death or to divorce, and now after years of walking your path alone or with someone else, you are considering the possibility of saying "I do" again. Before you take that step, there are 5 truths I believe you must know, not to discourage you, but to prepare you, because this chapter of life deserves honesty, not fantasy. Let's walk through it together. The first truth is this: love after 60 is not the same as love at 20 or 30. It is deeper, it is quieter, and in many ways it is more fragile. At 20, you may have chased passion. At 30, perhaps you sought partnership to build a family. But at 60 or beyond, what you seek now is comfort, companionship, understanding. You are not trying to build a life from scratch. You are trying to preserve one already built, with years of habits, memories, and beliefs stitched into its fabric. A study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that older adults often pursue remarriage less for romantic reasons and more for companionship and security. You may want someone to eat breakfast with, to laugh with over old stories, to hold your hand during a health scare. That is beautiful, but you must know this kind of love requires a different kind of patience. You are not merging empty slates, you are blending entire histories, children, finances, health issues, emotional wounds. All of it comes to the altar with you, and if you think love alone can smooth it all over, I urge you to think again. You need readiness. You need emotional clarity, because at this stage, falling in love is not the challenge. Staying wise in love is. That brings us to the second truth. Remarriage after 60 changes your family dynamics in ways you may not expect. And I want you to hear this clearly. No matter how grown your children are, your remarriage will affect them. I have seen it over and over. A parent gets remarried and thinks, "My kids are adults. They'll be fine." But they are not always fine. They are adjusting. They are grieving the loss of the family story they once knew. They may fear being replaced, or they may feel protective of your late spouse's memory. Studies out of the University of Michigan show that adult children often experience emotional distress when a parent remarries, especially if the first marriage ended with the death of a beloved parent. Even if they like your new partner, their loyalty to the past can create tension. Do not dismiss that. You must be ready to have real conversations. You must be open to their discomfort, and you must make peace with the fact that not everyone will applaud your choice. That does not mean you should not remarry, but it does mean you should walk forward with eyes wide open. Love requires grace, and remarried love at this stage requires even more. The third truth is something most people overlook until it is too late, and that is the legal and financial reality of remarriage after 60. I am not a lawyer, but I have seen the medical side of what happens when people do not plan wisely. Getting remarried changes your legal status. That can affect everything from your Social Security benefits to your inheritance plans, even your access to certain healthcare decisions. A report from the Social Security Administration outlines how remarriage can cause some individuals to lose benefits they received from a previous spouse's work record. And if you do not update your estate documents, your assets may go to your new spouse, even if that is not what you intended. You must have hard conversations about money, about wills, about advance directives. You may think it unromantic. I think it is loving, because protecting one another means not leaving confusion behind. Sit with a lawyer, speak with your children, make your wishes known. Do not let love blind you to the very real legal consequences of saying "I do" again. Protect the life you've built while making room for the life ahead. The fourth truth is more tender, more difficult to say, but it is this. Remarriage after 60 will bring you face to face with health in ways you may not have anticipated. The reality is simple. As we age, our bodies change. We live with more medications, more doctor appointments, more physical limitations. When you marry someone in their 60s or 70s or beyond, you are not just marrying the person. You are marrying their health history, their aches and pains, their future surgeries, their possible decline, and they are marrying yours. A longitudinal study by the National Institute on Aging shows that caregiving often becomes a central part of late-life relationships. One partner eventually becomes the caregiver. And while that is an act of love, it is also an act of endurance. It will test your strength, your patience, your capacity to give. You must ask yourself, am I ready to walk someone to the edge of life? And am I ready for someone to walk me there too? It is a sacred thing, but it is also heavy. Romantic dinners and vacations matter, but so do wheelchairs and prescriptions and hospital visits. You must love someone not just for who they are now, but for who they may become in 10 or 15 years. Because that, my friend, is the kind of love that lasts. The fifth and final truth is perhaps the most personal, and that is this. Before you remarry, you must make peace with your past. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you lost a spouse, you must give yourself permission to grieve them fully, not to forget them, but to make room for someone new without guilt. Love is not a betrayal of memory. It is a continuation of the heart's capacity to hold more than one truth. I have seen widows and widowers carry silent guilt into new marriages, as if by loving again they are disrespecting the one they lost. But the heart is vast. It can love more than once. You just have to let it. And if your past involves divorce, then you must come to terms with what went wrong. You cannot drag unresolved pain into a new relationship and expect it to disappear. It will not. It will surface. It will confuse things. You need time, reflection, maybe therapy. You need to be honest about your part in what ended. Only then can you offer yourself fully to what might begin. According to a study from the American Psychological Association, second and third marriages have higher divorce rates than first marriages. But those who entered them with emotional awareness and healing had stronger, more satisfying bonds. That's what I want for you. A bond not based on escape, but on presence, on readiness, on truth. So if you are over 60 and thinking about remarrying, I want you to know this. You are not foolish. You are brave. To love again at this stage of life is a profound act of hope, but it must be rooted in reality, in understanding, in courage. You must know that your heart may be wiser now, but it is also more vulnerable. You must know that love, real love, means sharing everything. Your past, your fears, your finances, your family, your health, your soul. And you must be willing to walk with someone through both joy and sorrow. Because the years ahead, while beautiful, may also be complicated. Do not remarry just to fill a silence, or to cure loneliness, or to fix what feels broken inside. Marry because you have healed, because you are ready to give and receive, because you have chosen not just a partner, but a fellow traveler who understands the terrain of growing older and is willing to walk it with you, hand in hand, through all of it. That is what I would tell you if you were sitting in my office, eyes wide with possibility and uncertainty. I would tell you these 5 truths, not to scare you, but to guide you, because love at this age is not about happily ever after. It is about truthfully, deeply, and courageously ever after. And if you know these truths, if you have faced them honestly, if you have had the conversations that matter, then by all means, say I do again. Just make sure it is not a leap. Make sure it is a step, a grounded, deliberate, loving step into the life you have earned. Are you financially protected in your new marriage? If you are considering remarriage later in life, I want you to hear me clearly. Love is beautiful. Companionship is meaningful. But before you walk down that aisle or stand before a judge, you must ask yourself one critical question. Are you financially protected in your new marriage? It is not a question to stir fear. It is a question rooted in wisdom. Because at this stage of life, what you have built financially is likely the result of decades of work, sacrifice, planning, and sometimes survival. Your house, your savings, your retirement income, your social security, your inheritance, your legacy, all of it now stands in a new light. The moment you remarry, everything shifts. Not always in ways you expect. Not always in ways you can reverse. That is why you must think clearly. You must act thoughtfully. Because this next chapter, as joyful as it may be, deserves protection. Let me tell you what I have seen. As a doctor, people often come to me when they are already in the middle of something difficult. Health crises, loss, financial confusion. I have seen widows and widowers remarry without a second thought about money. I have seen people in love who never signed a prenuptial agreement, never updated a will, never spoke to a financial advisor. Then, a few years in, a spouse dies, and the surviving partner realizes they no longer have access to certain accounts. The children from the first marriage are cut out of the inheritance. Or worse, they go to court. And suddenly, what was supposed to be a beautiful ending becomes a painful unraveling. I have seen adult children heartbroken not by the marriage, but by the financial chaos that followed. And all of it could have been avoided with a few honest conversations, a few documents, a little planning. The truth is, remarriage affects your financial life more than most people understand. According to the Social Security Administration, if you remarry before the age of 60, you generally lose eligibility to receive survivor benefits based on your deceased spouse's earnings. But if you remarry after 60, you can usually still receive those benefits. That sounds simple, but it is not, because many people do not realize how those benefits interact with their new marriage's income, or how remarriage could affect Medicaid eligibility, tax brackets, or estate planning laws. A study by the National Center for Family and Marriage Research showed that late-life marriages, especially second or third marriages, often result in financial blending that leads to increased vulnerability for one or both partners, especially women, especially those who do not have independent retirement savings. That vulnerability is real. It is not romantic to talk about, but it is real. So how do you protect yourself? You begin by talking. You sit down with your future spouse and you lay everything on the table. Not just your hopes, but your numbers, your income, your debt, your health insurance, your retirement accounts, your will. You talk about who will pay what, who will be responsible for what. If one of you goes into long-term care, how will it be paid for? If one of you passes away, who inherits what? These are not accusations, these are protections. These are signs that you love not only each other, but also the life you've each spent a lifetime building. AARP did a national survey that found nearly 40% of people over age 50 had not discussed finances with their new spouse before they remarrying. Of those who did not, a significant number ended up in financial disagreement or regret. Let that not be you. Next, you speak with professionals, a lawyer, a financial planner, someone who understands elder law, someone who knows how marriage affects your estate. You consider a prenuptial agreement. I know that word can sound harsh, cold, but it is not a rejection of love. It is a recognition of reality. A prenuptial agreement can protect your children's inheritance. It can preserve the home you owned before the marriage. It can clarify debts. It can outline healthcare directives and responsibilities. It is not about planning for divorce, it is about preparing for life. A 2021 report from the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers noted a significant increase in prenuptial agreements among older adults, with over 60% of surveyed attorneys reporting a rise in clients over the age of 50 requesting them. That is not a trend of cynicism. That is a sign of wisdom. You must also look at your will and estate documents. Many people remarry and forget to update their beneficiaries. They leave their life insurance or retirement accounts in the name of a previous spouse, or they fail to name their new spouse at all. That leads to confusion, legal disputes, and pain that no one should face during a time of grief. Make sure your documents reflect your new wishes. Make sure your children understand those wishes. Talk with them. Be honest. You are not asking permission. You are giving clarity. That is a gift. You also need to think about long-term care. If one of you becomes ill, how will care be handled? In many states, spouses are legally responsible for each other's medical bills, including nursing home costs. If your spouse needs extended care, the assets you intended to pass on to your children may be used to pay those bills. Medicaid has strict rules about asset limits and look-back periods. Planning ahead, sometimes through a trust or long-term care insurance, can protect your estate and reduce stress during difficult times. This is not just about money, it is about peace. Peace for you, peace for your family. Let me speak to your heart for a moment. If you are in love again after 60, that is something sacred. Many people never find that a second time. But love does not erase responsibility. In fact, real love steps into responsibility with open arms. You are older now, you are wiser, and you owe it to yourself and to your partner to bring that wisdom into this next chapter. You owe it to your children. You owe it to your legacy. Protecting your financial life does not mean you love less. It means you are building something stronger. So ask yourself again, are you financially protected in your new marriage? Have you had the hard conversations? Have you met with the right people? Have you faced the future not with fear, but with readiness? If the answer is no, it is not too late. Start now, because what you build today will shape the comfort and security of the years ahead. You have come this far in life. You have earned your peace. You have earned your joy. And with a little planning, with a little courage, you can protect both. That is not just being smart. That is being loving. That is being prepared. That is being free.